Linda knew it was over the second Brad used the phrase girl boss energy with a straight face. The conference room was too cold, the coffee too burnt, and the air too thick with cologne and condescension. She sat across from him, binder in lap, face unreadable. Months of data, vendor reviews, campaign timelines, cost savings estimates, all in color-coded tabs. All proof that she wasn't just doing her job. She was the only reason Aura Cosmetics didn't sue their asses after the billboard fiasco in Chicago. Brad glanced at the binder, not even opening it. Linda, he said, flashing that spray-tan smirk, you are so vital to this team. But your work is, behind the scenes. We reward the rainmakers, the people out front, the client-facing creatives. You're the engine, but the client buys the car for the paint job. Linda blinked once, then twice. Aura Cosmetics only stayed on after I rerouted their product launch in 72 hours. Your creatives were in Cabo. Sure, Brad chuckled, leaning back like he was the star of a TED talk on mediocrity. But clients don't see that. They remember who presented it. You know how it is. Optics. She smiled tightly. Optics, she repeated. That one word was the starting pistol for a war Brad didn't know he'd just declared. 6 minutes later, she walked out of that meeting with her jaw locked and her heart rate disturbingly calm. She passed by the interns chugging iced coffee like it was Roman IV fluid, past the design team arguing over hex codes, past HR where some poor soul was crying over Slack etiquette. Back at her desk, she pulled out her personal laptop, opened Excel, and titled a new spreadsheet, Project Severance. And hey, before I go full Ocean's 11 meets Office Space here, can I ask a quick favor? 97% of you are watching these stories without subscribing. I'm just a tired goblin typing betrayal plots at 2 a.m. trying to reach my first 10,000 subscribers. You clicking subscribe? That's the real behind-the-scenes magic. Back to Linda. Project Severance had 3 tabs to start. Vendors, freelancers, and clients, soft spots. She didn't even have to think. Miguel the printer in Jersey. He once reworked 10,000 units overnight after Brad forgot to forward a file. Tabitha, the copywriter with insomnia and a god complex, she ghostwrote all of Brad's thought leadership LinkedIn posts. Sarah from Aura, her junior marketing manager turned anxiety sponge, mentored by Linda after too many late-night breakdowns over Zoom. Linda didn't manage a team. She managed people, quietly, softly, precisely. She clicked open her email as Brad's follow-up note pinged. Thanks again for your energy today, Linda. Remember, we rise by lifting others. She stared at that smiley face like it had just insulted her mother. Rise by lifting others? She'd lifted this company for 10 years and they handed her a pat on the back and a corporate koan. She scrolled down to her inbox. 37 emails. 16 were emergencies. One was from the production house. We're about to lose the photographer for Friday. Should we cancel? Another was a desperate ping from Dev. Client wants to redo the banner layout. Do you have last year's PSDs? Linda replied to all of them in under 10 minutes, solving problems faster than AI could hallucinate a sentence. No one noticed. Of course they didn't. She wasn't the face. She was the skeleton. But for the first time in a long time, that didn't depress her. It amused her. It energized her. Because bones hold the whole body together. And if she decided to walk out of the skeleton, the whole damn company would collapse like a wet tissue in a rainstorm. Linda came in early the next morning, earlier than usual even for her, which meant she beat the cleaning crew and the intern with the nose ring who microwaved fish at 8:17 a.m. every Tuesday like it was a war crime reenactment. Her desktop booted to the same cheerful wallpaper of a lake she hadn't visited in 5 years. She opened her work calendar, clicked into the logistics schedule for the upcoming Aura campaign, and minimized it immediately. Today wasn't about saving them, not anymore. She popped in her earbuds, hit play on some acoustic jazz she didn't even like, stealth mode music, and opened Project Severance again. The glow of the spreadsheet wasn't just data. Felt like prophecy. Tab 1, Vendors. First name, Miguel Alvarez, Specialty, Custom Packaging. Notes, knows Aura's exact Pantone code, 1545C, and prefers phone calls after 3 p.m. because he takes care of his mother in the mornings, likes caramel candies, has a vendetta against FedEx. She knew these things not because of a CRM, but because she listened. Next, Denise K., freelance graphic design wizard. Entry note, once rebuilt a product launch deck in 7 hours flat after a creative director spilled rosé on his laptop and claimed the cloud ate it. Works best from 11 p.m. 4 a.m. Payment in net 15 or she disappears into the woods. Linda's fingers danced over the keyboard, a methodical rhythm like tuning a piano. She wasn't just compiling contacts. She was assembling an army. A quiet, brilliant, or an out-tempered crew of specialists who did 90% of the heavy lifting while Brad collected 100% of the applause. She clicked into tab 2, Freelancers. This was trickier. Freelancers could smell desperation like blood in bathwater. Linda needed them curious, not concerned. She wouldn't pitch. Not yet. She was just mapping who was tired, who was overdue for a better offer, who was already venting in Slack threads and email chains. She flagged names, added notes, did it all while sipping stale office coffee and pretending to read an internal memo titled Q3 Synergy Strategy. Then her work phone rang. It was Lisa, the campaign manager for a pharma client whose name sounded like a mattress and a foot cream had a baby. Her voice was pure panic. Linda, the sticker vendor said they never got final approval on the die-cut spec sheet, and now they're saying they can't meet the ship date. I think someone forgot to confirm. Linda was already reaching for her personal phone. Give me 5, she said flatly. She dialed Miguel directly. No small talk, hey, need a favor. Can you pull the backup spec for Pharmacom's promo kits and slot a run by Friday? Miguel groaned but didn't say no. Only for you, Linda. You know Brad still thinks I'm with UPS? Yup, she said, scribbling a note. Still thinks Miguel equals shipping guy. Classic Brad. And by Friday, Miguel promised. Also, thanks for the caramel candies last month. My mom loved them. She hung up, called Lisa back, handled. There was a pause on the other end of the line. God, I don't know how you do it, Lisa said. You're like the fixer from one of those assassin movies, but for branded merchandise. Linda smirked. If only you knew, she thought. Back at her spreadsheet, she added a new column, burnout level, high, medium, low. Then a color coding system for loyalty. Then a tab just for Aura Cosmetics, past crises, internal contact web, potential pain points. Brad thought behind the scenes meant invisible. What he didn't realize was that invisible didn't mean powerless. It meant untraceable. And Linda was about to ghost the whole damn company, quietly, efficiently, and with all the grace of a guillotine in a black velvet box. The Ohio Secretary of State's website looked like it hadn't been updated since dial-up, but Linda didn't care. She clicked through the maze of tabs, paid her $100 fee, and registered her LLC, Scaffold Solutions. The name made her snort. It was her little inside joke because while Brad and the Rainmakers pranced around in their spotlight, she had been holding the whole damn circus tent upright. She was the scaffold, always had been. The moment the confirmation email hit her inbox, she felt it like stepping off the curb a second before the light changes. Terrifying, liberating, no turning back. Lunches became less about scarfing a sad salad between crisis calls and more about quietly building an empire in the shadows. In one browser tab, she had Squarespace open, wrestling with a minimalist template that didn't scream freelancer graveyard. In another, a draft business plan. It wasn't flashy, but it was tight: logistics consulting, campaign infrastructure, vendor negotiation. She wasn't offering sparkle, she was offering stability. And God knows every marketing firm was one fragile ego away from total collapse. Nights were worse. The kind of lonely that tasted like metal. Linda sat in her apartment, fingers hovering over her budget spreadsheet, wondering if she was insane. Her 401k was decent, but not leap off a cliff decent. Her savings were conservative, but there was no plan B anymore. This was the plan. And for once in her life, she wasn't going to be the insurance policy for someone else's dream. She was going to build the damn dream. That Friday, she met Sarah from Aura at the usual coffee shop, a bougie little place that charged $6 for oat milk like it was liquid gold. Linda kept it casual, neutral makeup, flats instead of heels, no whiff of a pitch, just to check in with an old friend. Sarah arrived late and frazzled, laptop bag slipping off her shoulder, scarf wrapped like she'd been fighting a wind tunnel. Sorry, our creative director had a meltdown about lipstick swatch lighting. Again, this job is literally eroding my frontal lobe. Linda chuckled, slid a chai across the table. Still working miracles, I see. Oh yeah, Sarah said, eyes rolling. I get to explain to my boss why your company keeps forgetting to include version history in decks, or why Brad responded to a timeline query with a smiley face emoji. A literal smiley face, Linda. I nearly filed an HR complaint on your behalf. Linda sipped slowly, nodding, storing every word. She didn't ask leading questions, just let Sarah vent, the kind of patient silence that said, I'm listening, I understand, keep going. And Sarah did. For nearly an hour, she spilled tea like the porcelain was cracked. Missed approvals, miscommunication, last-minute fire drills that Linda used to diffuse without anyone noticing. Honestly, Sarah said at one point, leaning back, you're the only one over there who seems to know what's going on. If you ever left, I think our whole marketing department would have a collective panic attack. Linda smiled into her cup. Noted. She didn't say anything about Scaffold Solutions. Didn't drop a card, didn't so much as wink. Just a warm laugh and a gentle, well, I'm still here. For now. The drive home was quiet. Her phone pinged with updates, Slack pings, calendar invites, the usual digital leash. But Linda's mind was somewhere else. Because for the first time in years, the thought of leaving didn't feel like burning down a house. It felt like walking out of a burning building with the only fire extinguisher. Meetings started late because Brad had to set the stage. That's what he actually said, set the stage, like we were all about to audition for a regional dinner theater production of The Wolf of Wall Street, PowerPoint edition. He strutted in wearing a navy blazer over a turtleneck, which made him look like a tech founder if that founder's primary innovation was gaslighting. The entire company was crammed into the big glass-walled conference room, some in person, some remote. Linda sat 3 seats from the back, her notebook open, pen poised not to take notes, but to sketch out how many minutes of her life this would waste. Brad launched into it like a man who'd mainlined 5 TED talks and confused volume with vision. Team, he bellowed, we're about to revolutionize our relationship with Aura Cosmetics. This new campaign, the Glow Revolution, is going to be Q4's crown jewel. We're talking cross-channel, hyper-targeted, influencer-aligned, micro-moment brilliance. Linda blinked. She had no idea what half of that meant, and she wrote the initial campaign brief. A brief Brad clearly hadn't read because what he was describing had the scope and timeline of a Marvel sequel, and they had 6 weeks. He clicked to the next slide, a massive Gantt chart that looked like it had been made by a caffeinated toddler with access to Excel. Then he did it. He glanced at her, smirked, and said, and of course, we'll have Linda's team in the back making sure all the I's are dotted. In the back, it wasn't just a jab. It was a body blow dressed in passive-aggressive praise. The whole room laughed politely. A few people even glanced at her, their eyes doing that "oh God, I'm sorry" thing people do when they witness a hit-and run but don't want to testify. Linda didn't flinch. She just closed her notebook and smiled, because that was the moment. The very last flicker of doubt inside her died, right there under the flickering LED lights. Brad had taken her backbone and reduced it to a back-office footnote in front of the whole damn company, and he thought it was charming. That night, Linda went home, poured a glass of boxed wine that tasted like regret and raisins, and opened her email. Subject, quick check-in future projects. She sent 3 messages. One to Tabitha, her favorite copywriter. One to Greg, go-to-motion designer. And one to Jasmine, the web dev genius who could code an interactive landing page with one AirPod in and a baby on her hip. The emails were short, personal, nothing pushy. Just a "hey, I'm exploring something new. Curious about your availability in the next few months. No pressure, just thinking ahead." She hit send, closed her laptop, sat in silence. 3 minutes later, Jasmine replied, "Linda, I'd follow you into battle against a horde of rabid raccoons. Just say the word. I'm so tired of their last-minute demands and late payments I could scream into a Slack thread." Linda stared at the screen, a slow grin forming, not because Jasmine was on board, but because it proved what she already suspected. The rot was everywhere. The dissatisfaction wasn't isolated, it was systemic, and Brad? He'd been soaking in it so long he thought the smell was cologne. She opened her spreadsheet and added a new tab, Allies, color-coded, prioritized, labeled, then in bold, Phase 1 active readiness. No more hiding in the back. If Brad wanted a revolution, he was about to get one, just not the kind he could slap on a mood board. She printed it on crisp white paper just for the drama. A single sheet, centered text, no fluff. Just, effective 2 weeks from today, I am resigning from my position as logistics coordinator. No reasons, no passive-aggressive pleasantries. No, it's been a pleasure, because it hadn't. She walked into Brad's office with the kind of quiet authority usually reserved for bomb disposal experts and people who have just paid off their mortgage. He barely looked up from his phone. "Got a sec?" she asked. "Sure, shoot," he said, swiping through what she assumed was either fantasy football or LinkedIn stalking. She handed him the paper. He read it, blinked once. Then he laughed. "Oh," said, nodding slowly. "Wow. Okay, Linda. Good luck with whatever it is you're doing. Let us know if you need a reference." He set the paper down like it was a Starbucks receipt. "Actually," he added, "maybe you can have Jamie shadow you for the next couple weeks, just so we don't miss a beat." Jamie, the intern coordinator who once tried to schedule a product shoot for Mother's Day on Easter Sunday and called Aura Cosmetics Aurora Company in a client email. Linda smiled so hard she thought her molars might crack. "Of course," she said. Back at her desk, she opened a blank Word doc titled Transition Notes Aura Campaign. She began typing, timelines, vendor lists, key deliverables. It was all perfectly accurate, technically complete, but she left out the real playbook. She didn't mention that Miguel only answers after 3 p.m. because he's caring for his mom. Note that Sarah prefers texts over emails when she's in back-to-back calls. Didn't explain that the Rush printer in Cincinnati requires a PO and a cookie order to guarantee overnight turnarounds. She created a map, sure, but without the legend, it might as well be a treasure hunt with all the X's scrubbed out. Jamie showed up at her desk later that day, all enthusiasm and dry shampoo. "Hey, Linda, I'm super excited to learn from you. Brad says you're like glue here." Linda stared at her, torn between pity and dark amusement. "Well," she said, "get ready to get sticky." The next 2 weeks were a masterclass in gracious sabotage. She answered every question, smiled in every meeting, and handed off her tasks with the warmth of a mentor and the precision of a surgeon wearing gloves. Every document she passed over looked perfect, but only if you didn't know what wasn't in it. Her calendar was still full, but her mind was emptying out. Bit by bit, call by call. She forwarded vendor contacts with the wrong CCs, knowing they'd bounce. Gave timelines without flagging the landmines. Replied to Slack threads with just enough information to avoid suspicion, but not enough to prevent chaos. She wasn't burning bridges. She was removing the screws from the suspension cables and walking away before the first tremor. The office didn't change. The beige walls still hummed with fluorescent lights and faux enthusiasm. Brad still strutted past her desk with that same empty confidence, already counting his Q4 bonus like it was wired to his veins. But she had changed. Every passing day felt lighter. Every "hey Linda, quick question" was another inch closer to the exit. another brick out of the prison wall. By the end of week 1, she stopped flinching when she saw Brad's name in her inbox. By the end of week 2, she didn't even bother opening his emails. The first Monday alone hit like a hangover from a party she never got invited to. No commute, no Slack pings, no lukewarm office coffee. Just Linda, a secondhand IKEA desk, and the haunting sound of her neighbor's parrot screaming hello, every 12 minutes like it was stuck in an existential loop. Her inbox was quiet, too quiet. A few kind replies from freelancers she'd reached out to. Tabitha sent over a copy editing project that paid like a 1998 Craigslist gig. Jasmine had a client who needed someone to wrangle deadlines on a small campaign. It wasn't glamorous, but it paid a couple bills. She told herself this was normal. Launching a business takes time. But by Wednesday, the silence felt loud. She kept checking her email like it owed her money. Click, refresh. Nothing, not from Sarah, not from Aura. Not even a scam promising to enlarge things she didn't have. She tried to keep herself busy, refining her service packages, updating her LinkedIn, fiddling with her website until her eyeballs throbbed. Still nothing. And just when doubt began to creep in, dragging behind it every anxious what if her brain could manufacture, her phone buzzed. Sarah, Aura Cosmetics, 1:14 p.m. Do you have a sec? Total emergency. The new guy Brad put on our account sent the wrong print specs for the holiday gift boxes and the printer's freaking out. Do you still have the ones we used last year? Linda didn't hesitate. She didn't say maybe. She didn't say what's in it for me. She didn't even ask why they didn't back up the files in the first place. She just typed, 1:15 p.m. of course, sending them to your personal email now. No charge, just glad I could help. Fingers flew over the keys. She knew exactly where the files were. Folder, Aura Holiday Gift Boxes 2022 Final Final Use it this own PDF. Because of course she kept them. Because she knew Aura better than Aura did. 15 minutes later, another text. Lifesaver, you just saved my job. I owe you a drink or a building. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Linda stared at the message for a long time, not smiling, not gloating, just feeling. That jolt of adrenaline, that precise intersection of panic and purpose, it hit like a drug. For the first time since she filed her LLC, she felt alive. Not just like a person who left a job, but like someone building a thing that mattered. She opened a new note in her business folder. Title, Pro Bono Proof of Concept Aura Incident 1. Bullet points. Brad's new coordinator failed to verify specs. Client contacted me directly. I solved it in 10 mins, no hesitation. Built trust, didn't sell. Saved. This wasn't just luck, it was architecture, quiet scaffolding. The kind no one notices until it's gone and everything starts collapsing like a bad souffle. She sipped her tea, heart still racing, eyes scanning the inbox again. It was still quiet. But this time it didn't feel like failure. It felt like the calm before the switch. It started with a voicemail. Not from Sarah this time. From someone Linda didn't know. Gina Morales, Senior Marketing Director at Aura Cosmetics. Her tone was clipped, controlled. But the tension underneath it was unmistakable. Hi, Linda. I was told you might be the person to speak with regarding some historical coordination issues on our end. Specifically about last year's campaign locations and booking protocols. I understand you're no longer with your previous firm, but any clarity you can provide would be helpful. Please call me back at your convenience. Linda paused the message and just sat there, staring at her wall, blank white, like a movie screen about to play the climax, because this was it. The moment she'd built toward, not with revenge in mind, but with the slow, deliberate confidence of a woman who knows what happens when the glue is gone. The story, as she soon learned, went like this. Aura's campaign shoot was scheduled for a Saturday at a high-end location in Soho. Expensive, fully booked months out, models flown in, creative director on site, lighting team set, except someone Jamie, she'd later learn, had only soft confirmed the venue via email and never followed up. The space was double booked. Aura's team showed up and found a bachelorette brunch happening under neon signs and disco balls. Panic, screaming. Someone threw a mimosa. The shoot was a bust. And Brad tried to smooth it over on a Zoom call with Aura's executive team by saying, well, Linda usually handled these details and we're still getting the new team up to speed. He said her name, as a scapegoat. But when Sarah's boss asked for clarification, why Linda never let this sort of chaos happen, Brad's answers got foggier than a vape shop on fire. He literally said Linda had her own system. Sarah told her later on the phone, voice trembling. And Gina just stared at him like he farted on a conference table. Linda didn't laugh. She didn't gloat. She just opened a folder on her desktop titled Aura 2023 Campaign Red Flag Logs. Inside were 7 PDFs detailing her previous venue checks, backup options, contact escalation ladders, and booking confirmation protocols. One even had a section titled Bachelorette Brunch Prevention. Because of course it did. Sarah's voice cracked on the next sentence. My boss is furious. Brad's just making excuses. This whole campaign is about to go off the rails. My boss asked me how you always kept this from happening. Linda stared at the screen, fingers tented under her chin. She didn't respond immediately. Instead, she looked around her modest little office, the soft lamp, the smell of bergamot tea, the faint hum of her secondhand mini-fridge, and thought, This is what peace feels like. Not the absence of conflict, but the presence of control. She clicked open her email, drafted a message, kept it professional, helpful, just enough to show she knew the battlefield without throwing grenades. Subject: Coordination History Aura Campaign. Hi Gina, happy to provide clarity. Attached are the coordination protocols I previously used while supporting the Aura account. You'll find venue verification steps, secondary location backups, and a few contact trees. Hope this helps. Best, Linda Blake, founder, Scaffold Solutions. She hit send, and then she sat back and waited, not like someone hoping for scraps, but like a surgeon who knows the patient's current doctor is using YouTube tutorials. The cracks were no longer cracks. They were fault lines, and Brad, he was tap dancing on a tectonic plate, whistling like nothing was wrong. The calendar invite hit her inbox like a thunderclap in a quiet room. Subject: Video call Aura Cosmetics account discussion from Gina Morales attendees. Gina Morales, SVP Marketing, Sarah Kapoor, Account Manager, Linda Blake, Scaffold Solutions. Duration: 45 minutes. Attachments: none, no agenda, no flattery, just that cold, clinical tone high-level execs use when something's gone very, very wrong. Linda stared at the invite, heart beating slow and heavy in her chest, not fast with panic, deliberate like the rhythm of a war drum. She accepted. Then she stood up, cracked her knuckles, and began building the most important document of her professional life. It wasn't a pitch deck. She didn't fill it with buzzwords or artificial cheer. No mission statements, no KPI. What she built was a case study, 3 slides, 3 stories, each one a near disaster that had been averted because she knew how to make the machine move when no one else even knew it existed. Crisis 1, the wrong SKU debacle. Aura's hero product nearly shipped to retailers with a misspelled ingredient on the packaging. Linda caught it, fixed it, quietly bribed the printer with concert tickets she bought out of pocket to expedite the reprint, saved a $250,000 launch without anyone at Aura knowing they were ever at risk. Crisis 2, the influencer allergy incident. A last-minute brand ambassador turned out to be severely allergic to a product variant. Linda caught the discrepancy by cross-referencing her social feed and medical posts. The influencer was chatty, had her removed from the PR list and swapped in a replacement. No fuss, no lawsuits. Crisis 3, the freight mix-up. 4 pallets of limited edition holiday kits were accidentally routed to a cosmetics retailer in Wisconsin. Linda rerouted them in 90 minutes using a personal contact at the shipping hub. That same day, Brad was in Cabo unplugging. She printed each one out, annotated with her original checklists, vendor contact logs, emergency call timestamps. She didn't say, "Look what I did." She said, "Here's what you never had to worry about, because I was your worry sponge." The morning of the call, she brewed black coffee in her favorite chipped mug, dressed in a navy blouse. Simple, clean, no jewelry. Her background was tidy, just a bookshelf, a plant, and the logo she had quietly added to her video overlay. Scaffold Solutions structural support for creative chaos. When the Zoom lobby opened, she clicked join. Gina was already there, arms crossed, expression carved from corporate granite. Sarah sat beside her, looking exhausted but hopeful. Linda, Gina began, her voice like a scalpel. "We're in a difficult position. It seems we've underestimated where the true value in our account management was. Sarah tells me you've started your own firm." A pause, then with zero flourish, "Tell us what you can do for us." Linda didn't smile, didn't blink fast. She simply nodded once, clicked to slide 1 and began. No sales pitch, just facts. Measured, specific, calm. She walked them through every crisis, every save, every whisper of disaster she had handled like a ghost in the machine. She didn't gloat. She taught with precision, like an engineer explaining the architecture of a bridge someone else had been dancing on with gasoline shoes. When she was done, she didn't ask for the contract. She didn't offer a discount. She said one thing: "I believe I can provide the support you've been missing." Quietly, consistently, and without making you ask twice. Gina said nothing for a moment. Then she leaned forward, hands clasped. "We'll be in touch very soon." Linda ended the call, closed her laptop. And for the first time in 20 years, she felt what it was like to own the room, even if it was just a virtual square on a screen. The contract came through at 9:04 a.m. on a Thursday. Subject: Welcome aboard Scaffold Solutions X Aura Cosmetics attachment. Aura Consulting Retainer Agreement, signed PDF, no fanfare. No flowers. Just a PDF and a short note from Gina. "We're looking forward to working with you again, this time directly. Let's get started." Linda read it 3 times, not because she didn't believe it, but because she wanted to memorize how it felt. The sheer weight of that single moment after years of being the invisible scaffolding holding up other people's brilliance. The fee listed in the contract? Double the raise she'd requested during that smug little behind-the-scenes review. No negotiation. No counter. She didn't cry. She just breathed. Deeply. Fully. Like someone who'd finally come up for air after a decade underwater. She stood up, walked to her window, and stared out at the quiet street below. An Amazon driver tossing a box onto someone's porch like a discus. A neighbor in a robe scolding her dog. The faint hum of a lawn mower 2 blocks away. Normal life. Ordinary. But to Linda, it was cathedral-level holy. She made herself a fresh cup of coffee, strong, no sugar, exactly how she liked it now that no one was stealing the communal creamer, and sat down at her desk. Opened a new file. Title: Aura Onboarding Plan Week 1. Just as she was typing the first bullet point, review Q4 delivery assets and re-establish all vendor timelines, her laptop pinged with a new notification. LinkedIn, Brad Wilkins has requested to connect. She stared at it. No message, no apology, no subject line. Just that little gray face, grinning like a Labrador in a blazer, floating next to the button, accept or ignore. Her finger hovered for breath, then she clicked ignore. Not block, not report, just no, a quiet no. A no dipped in dignity and sprinkled with the ashes of every passive-aggressive meeting invite he'd ever sent. And then she turned back to her onboarding document. Because revenge wasn't the point. Validation wasn't even the point. Freedom was the point. Scaffold Solutions wasn't built to be flashy. It wasn't a startup in a hoodie with seed funding and a slide about disruption. It was made to work, to hold things up, to catch the falling pieces, to matter. She wasn't behind the scenes anymore. She was the scene, and Brad, he could keep polishing his title and tripping over his ignorance. Linda had already left the building and taken the whole damn foundation with her. Appreciate you sticking around, you legends of the break room. Subscribe for more chaos. Let's make your old managers spill their coffee in fear.